In 2002, sisters Anna and Lily Moore headed to the beach for a summer afternoon and never came back. Hours later, their sandals and towel were found near the dunes, but the girls were gone. For years, their family searched, clinging to fading hope. Then in 2014, a drone flying over the dunes spotted something unusual. What it revealed would change everything. What did the drone uncover? Comment your theory and subscribe for the full story. Anna Moore was 15, her younger sister Lily just 12. They lived in a quiet coastal town in Maine, the kind of place where neighbors waved, kids biked to school, and summer days stretched forever. Anna was the steady one, responsible, protective, a natural older sister. She loved sketching seashells in her notebook and dreamed of becoming an illustrator. Lily was different, restless, curious, always pulling Anna into adventures. She had a laugh that could fill a room and an endless fascination with the ocean. That summer of 2002, their family planned simple outings to the beach. Their mother, Diane, believed in tradition, packing sandwiches, old blankets, and a well-worn cooler. Their father, Mark, had promised to meet them after finishing a shift at the dock. It was supposed to be just another ordinary Sunday at the shore. Anna and Lily spent most of that afternoon running in and out of the surf. Witnesses later recalled seeing them laughing, chasing each other across the sand dunes. For a moment, life felt like it always had: warm, safe, ordinary. As the sun began to lower, Diane called her daughters back to pack up. She expected them to return, their towels already draped across the dune ridge. But when she looked again, there was only the towel, the sandals, the empty patch of sand. At first, Diane thought they were playing hide-and-seek. She searched the dunes, calling their names louder each time, her voice sharp with panic. But there was no answer, no laughter, no sound at all except the crash of waves. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, Anna and Lily Moore had vanished. When police arrived, they asked Diane one question she couldn't answer. If the girls walked into the water, why were their sandals left so neatly behind? By the time officers from the county sheriff's department arrived at the beach, night had swallowed the horizon. Floodlights illuminated patches of sand as deputies fanned out with flashlights, combing the dunes where Anna and Lily were last seen. Diane's voice was hoarse from calling their names, her hands trembling as she tried to explain how two children could vanish in broad daylight. Investigators quickly noted what Diane had already seen: the sandals, the towels, the half-eaten sandwiches still in the cooler. Nothing looked disturbed, nothing looked rushed. It was as though the sisters had stepped away for a moment and simply never returned. Mark, the girl's father, arrived not long after. He'd raced from the dock, his work clothes still damp with salt water. The moment he realized his daughters were gone, his face seemed to collapse. He dropped to his knees, clawing at the sand as though he might find them buried beneath. Within hours, word spread through town. Neighbors, fishermen, and even tourists joined the search. Flashlights dotted the coastline like scattered fireflies. The ocean was scanned, the dunes climbed, the parking lot checked for suspicious vehicles. Every second stretched like an eternity, but the girls were nowhere to be found. Officers questioned Diane and Mark, searching for inconsistencies, but their grief was raw and unfiltered. These weren't parents hiding secrets. These were parents watching their world collapse. Still, detectives couldn't ignore the gnawing question: how could two children vanish without a single witness? By dawn, there were no answers. Just the ocean, restless and indifferent, rolling against the shore as if nothing had happened. The beach that once echoed with laughter and children's voices became a command post overnight. Police tape cordoned off the Carter family's spot, the towels and sandals preserved as evidence. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their searchlights dragging across the restless sea while boats skimmed the waves, their engines growling against the silence. Volunteers lined the dunes with lanterns, moving methodically in rows. Flyers with the sisters' faces, Anna with her freckled smile, Lily with her toothy grin, were rushed to nearby towns, plastered on telephone poles, bus stops, and storefront windows. Their names were spoken in whispers, carried through diners, churches, and schools. National media soon arrived, their cameras cutting through the fog. For a brief moment, the little coastal town became the center of attention. Reporters shouted questions. Microphones were shoved in Diane's face as she pleaded for anyone with information to come forward. Her words trembled, but her eyes blazed with desperation. Despite the massive effort, days stretched into weeks without progress. Divers scoured the waters. Bloodhounds traced the dunes. Detectives interviewed fishermen, tourists, and even locals who had spent decades walking that very shoreline. Every possible lead dissolved into frustration. Despite the massive effort, days stretched into weeks without progress. Divers scoured the waters. Bloodhounds traced the dunes. Detectives interviewed fishermen, tourists, and even locals who had spent decades walking that very shoreline. Every possible lead dissolved into frustration. On the 20th day, investigators quietly admitted something chilling. We've scoured the land, the sea, and the air. If they're out here, someone doesn't want them found. Months bled into years, and the once frantic search faded into silence. The posters yellowed on telephone poles, rain smearing the ink until the girls' faces blurred like fading memories. The beach town moved forward, but for Diane Carter, time had stopped. Each year, on the anniversary of their disappearance, Diane returned to the dunes. She would bring flowers, sometimes toys the girls had loved, and place them near the spot where they were last seen. Locals grew used to her silhouette on the shoreline, a figure of grief etched against the endless tide. Investigators never closed the case, but the trail had long gone cold. Files thickened with false leads. A reported sighting of two girls at a carnival, a caller who swore he overheard drunken men bragging about a kidnapping, and a letter claiming knowledge of a burial site. Each one unraveled into nothing, leaving only heartbreak in its wake. Rumors filled the silence. Some whispered of human trafficking. Others claimed the sisters had drowned, their bodies swallowed by the relentless sea. But Diane never believed either. She was certain they hadn't just vanished. Someone knew what happened. Then came a whisper of something stranger. A retired ranger swore he'd seen two small figures in the dunes late at night, long after the girls had vanished. He never reported it, fearing ridicule. Years later, his confession sparked more unease than hope. If Diane was right, and her daughters hadn't been taken by the sea, then someone, somewhere, was still keeping their secret. By 2006, the disappearance of the Carter sisters had become a scar on the coastal town's history. New families came, children grew up, but the story of the two girls who vanished on a summer beach day still lingered like an open wound. Diane, now visibly older, refused to let her daughters fade into folklore. She spoke their names in every interview, ensuring the world would not forget. Technology was advancing in ways investigators from 1994 could never have imagined. By chance, a group of college students testing a drone for coastal erosion mapping decided to fly over the same stretch of dunes where Rachel and Emily had last been seen. The drone buzzed over the shifting sands, capturing footage with a high-resolution camera. At first, the images showed nothing unusual, just dunes rippled by years of wind. But then, as the drone banked low, its camera picked up something startling: a strange depression in the sand, partially covered by brush, with what appeared to be rusted metal glinting faintly in the light. Intrigued, the students marked the coordinates and returned later with better equipment. This time, the drone hovered closer, capturing angles that revealed more detail. Beneath the sand's surface lay twisted, corroded metal, as if part of a car had been swallowed whole by the dunes. They turned the footage over to local authorities, who hadn't received a credible lead in years. At first, detectives dismissed it as debris from storms. But when they examined the footage frame by frame, unease crept in. The shape beneath the dunes was too structured, too deliberate, to be driftwood or scrap. The next morning, a specialized excavation crew was dispatched. Shovels and machinery bit into the sand, pulling back layers of time. The crowd of onlookers, locals who had carried this mystery for over a decade, watched in silence. Hours passed before the machine screeched against something solid. A corroded bumper emerged, then the frame of a vehicle buried deep beneath the shifting dunes. Inside, the discovery turned from eerie to devastating. Rusted bones of upholstery clung to the frame, and in the back seat, forensic teams found fragments of fabric, still recognizable after all those years. Next to them lay a child's shoe, weathered but unmistakably small. The drone had uncovered what the sea and sand had hidden for 12 long years. But inside the car, investigators would find something even more chilling. Something that suggested the Carter sisters' story was far from over. The discovery of the car in the dunes should have ended the questions, but instead, it only deepened them. Investigators confirmed the remains belonged to one of the sisters, yet the other was never found. For Diane Carter, the girl's mother, closure never came. She buried one child, but still woke each night wondering if the other had somehow survived, or if the ocean had swallowed her whole. The locked doors of the buried car haunted investigators. If the sisters had been alone, how could the vehicle have sealed itself? And why had it been deliberately hidden so deep in the dunes? Locals whispered theories, abduction, betrayal, or something darker lurking on the coastline that day. But with no further evidence, the official file ended in silence. And so the Carter sisters' story lingers, half solved and half buried, just like the car that revealed their fate. Some say the sands still keep the final secret. Did someone lead the sisters to their deaths? Or is the missing girl still out there, hidden by time and silence? Share your theory in the comments, and subscribe for more haunting mysteries that refuse to stay buried.